Hey guys, ECRG here. What you're about to hear after the intro is the wrap up, what I recorded right after my very first clinical research associate interview. This was before the decision comes out. So another video will be up about, what the decision was. This is just about the interview process and the interview day. So enjoy. Hey guys, just wanted to talk a little bit about the clinical research associate interview I just went on. Just got back to not too long ago from the interview, and I think it overall went really well. These interviews, as they've shifted more in the place of clinical research, they call them entry level positions, but they're literally just level one CRA positions. They're not for people with zero experience. They really tore into my experience a lot during the interview, but it's all factual. A lot of people lie about their experience, but if you know your experience, you know your resume, and better off, you've actually done it. There's no really preparation that you have to do because you've done all that stuff. They're just asking about it. And a lot of people perpetrate on their resumes and say they've done things. Well, when all they can find out very quickly by just asking one simple question, and they'll know for sure if you've done it or not done it. So they seem to all, and the way it was set up was there were 4 people back to back to back. There were 3 people. One was, like one of the managers. One was somebody in the startup unit, like study startup unit. Another one was another manager, like a project manager / CRA. And then another one was someone in HR. So all 4 of those people, I think the HR person was first. But, you interview with all 4 of those people back to back to back. So it ended up taking like 2.5 hours to do all those interviews. And you're pretty drained by the end of it because they all ask similar questions like, why this company, how'd you get into clinical research, or what makes you the good fit for this role? Well, what makes you want to be a clinical research associate, et cetera, et cetera. So, you got to have some good sound reasoning for that because, the cat's out the bag. CRAs make really good money and they don't want people going into it for the wrong reasons anymore. They don't want people just wanting to be CRAs to make a whole bunch of money. And no one wants to do something. No one wants to know that someone's doing it just for the money, even though that could be the reason. And sometimes it's all right to be honest with yourself and with other people while you're doing things. But in the interview, that's not something good to say. But overall went pretty well. They asked the standard questions, and then common in the interviews are behavioral style questions. And by the time this comes out, I'll probably have done a bunch of videos already on that or talked about it a bunch on the channel about behavioral style interviews. And that's really where the industry, I think, is moving towards because I've done a lot of interviewing in behavioral style interviews. Even when I first got into the industry a few years ago now, behavioral style questions is what they asked. And those questions are good because they don't have to necessarily tailor them to the position. They can ask them, describe a time where your manager pushed back and you had to stand your ground. That could be a question for a study coordinator, a project manager, a CRA, a data manager. That question can apply to everything. And it's good for that, but also you get to see how people react and act in certain situations. So that's something you definitely want to prepare for. And really the best way to prepare for that is just have examples ready for those type of situations. And I like having some broad examples. So I had a few broad examples prepared that I had thought about before. And, you just really lean on those. And to be honest with you, I will change the outcome of the story as I'm saying it to fit the narrative. So you have a few of these stories, and then you kind of fit them to the narrative that they want, to the question that they want. If they say describe a time where you actually one of the questions they asked was describe a time where you had to make a decision, but you couldn't ask anybody. There was no manager or something like that. So luckily I had a situation that was, cookie cuttered for that. But they do ask questions where you may not have a cookie cutter response or a good answer for that, but you can kind of mold one of your stories to that. And even make up the results, make up something. Maybe it was your failed story, but you could turn it into a success or something like that. So that's what I do, and I do that in the interview because they only ask a few of these behavioral questions, but each person only asks a few of them. They all ask behavioral style questions, even the HR person. So that's just something to keep in mind, is come up with these examples, and that's what I did. And so I think that makes a lot of sense to do that. But something that's interesting about these interviews is they schedule a lot of them for like 2-3 hours at a time. Well, I don't know how most people are able to just get away from work for 2-3 hours, especially when they tell you like a couple days before, okay, we need you here, let's say on a Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. But they told you this on Monday. So how are you supposed to just say, get up and go? So I guess people use doctor's appointments or say they get some work done in their house or something like that. They need to go back home. But I don't know. It seems like these recruiters, when they think about planning stuff, they don't really take that into consideration. And, I've even heard of people having like after work interviews, like a 4:30 or a 5 o'clock interview. That's been done before too. So that works. I mean, it's always nice when a company is willing to work around your schedule and shows that level of empathy. So yeah. So, as far as like any of the preparation I did, I mean, obviously I was very nervous for the interview. This is the position that my dream position that I want to be. I feel like this is probably my last stop in the clinical research field. I'm probably going to be a CRA for however long I'm in the industry. Probably won't be anything else. But we'll see, though. Of course, 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, I could be burnt out and want to just take a break, maybe go back to in-house monitoring or something for a while just to get that normal schedule. But I don't know, man. CRAs get so much freedom, so many perks, so many benefits. And, just even how they're treated. I mean, they do have deadlines, and they do I wouldn't say get yelled at, but they are responsible for a lot. They're very important to the team, but they're also like very well respected on the team. They're also very well compensated on the team. I mean, CRAs oftentimes make way more than the project manager. They can make way more than their manager. They can make way more than the clinical trial lead. So they're probably the highest paid on a particular team. Definitely make more than data management, especially if you're a contract. If you're a contract, you're making the most by far because all that travel time is billable. And people are trying to get away from contractors at some point, but we'll see. I think there's always going to be a market for contract CRAs just because you don't want to pay them benefits. You just want to pay them for their time, et cetera, et cetera. But, this was a full-time position. It's hard to get contract positions as a CRA unless you've got a lot of experience. Most of the time, they're not going to bring you in as a contractor for a new CRA. I've heard anywhere 5 to 10 years of experience before you can be a contractor. So we'll see. I think that's definitely something I want to do in the future is be a contractor, but you got to kind of get in how you fit in. And let's see, anything else they asked? I didn't actually. One thing I forgot. Actually, two things I forgot. I actually forgot a pen. Normally I have a little like portfolio thing, like a leather portfolio, and it has places for business cards and pens. But luckily, they all gave me their business cards, which have their email addresses on them. So I didn't have to ask like, "Oh, what's your email address?" So that was good. And I forgot a pen. That's very embarrassing, and I can't believe I did that. But I also forgot some resumes. Typically, you're supposed to print out some resumes, but got lucky again because they all had my resume there. So I got really lucky with that. And even the recruiter was saying that, she tells them to bring their cards, but they typically never do. And I got lucky that they all brought them. So all the stars were aligned that day, and I'm very happy for that. Very, very happy for that. But overall, great interview. Glad it's over. They did mention there could be one more at the end, but we'll see. I'm not so sure. And I will say this was for a sponsor CRA position. So excited about that. There's going to be a lot of differences working for the sponsor directly rather than working for the CRO. And that's because the sponsor is the boss, what they say goes. So it's going to be slightly different. There's not going to be as much bureaucracy. There's not going to be as much going up the chain of command, having to talk to the CRA, then having to talk to the lead CRA, then lead CRA having to confer with the project manager, then the project manager having to confer with the sponsor, and things like that. So that's like 3-4 steps to the ladder before you finally get an answer. Whereas with the sponsor, you're one step removed. You're able to talk to the medical monitor. And so I think that's going to be easier, and I think that's going to be a lot less friction, and I'm excited for that. So, I think all things went well. I think, I believe in my experience. I believe in my resume. I believe in, what I bring to the table. So I think that was shown in the interview process, and, I hope they understand that. So I don't know yet, as you're hearing this, what happened with the outcome of that interview, but I will definitely make another video, another podcast about it. So stay tuned for that. As always, guys, like the video if you're listening, share, subscribe. Hope this was helpful. Comment down below in the comment sections too, what you thought about this. And that's it, guys. Take care.